Hello, welcome. Welcome to my kitchen for yet another week. How's everyone doing today? Good, I see some people are signing in. I know not everyone can talk, so we're going to get started very shortly. If you have a mixer, a KitchenAid mixer, that'll be great for this. We are going to be doing cheesecakes. You can do a big one or mini ones. It's completely up to what size of pan you have. I do have the full springform pan. I'm going to do kind of like a smaller pan because I'd rather make smaller ones. You can use a muffin tin. Muffin tins, I would use liners because they can get pretty messy. But if you have a mixer, so either a stand mixer or if you have a hand mixer, both will work fine. You can use a whisk, but it's going to take a little bit more elbow grease if you use a whisk today. So I'm just going to get my spatula. So everyone people have their recipes printed and ready to go. I just forgot to take out my vanilla. Forgot to get extract and my salt. There we go. All right. So first of all, we're going to start. Welcome again, everyone. We're going to start with getting our base, our whipping cream on. So we're going to start with getting the, we can make our base first. It's easy, either or really, but we're going to start with the base. So you have your graham crackers. If you already have graham crackers that are crushed, that's fine. Give me the whipping cream. Okay, not a problem. So we can start with we'll start with the crust first. Do you guys have like graham crackers or do you have graham cracker crumbs? I'm going to use, okay. Oh, if you have crumbs, super easy. So then all you have to do to make your crust is you're going to take a half a cup of butter. You can measure it into a glass or something that's microwave safe, and you're going to lightly melt it in the microwave very slowly, probably 20 seconds at a time. And then we're going to mix it all in a bowl with our sugar, our graham crackers, and our salt. And then we'll put it into our pans. So I'm going to grab a bowl. I'm just going to use one of these. You can, if you have crumbs, it'll work a lot easier. If you don't have crumbs, I just have graham crackers. I'm going to run mine very quickly through my trusty food processor. I have one of those that doesn't really matter if it looks like it's for smoothies. I'll still run it through that anyway. Actually, I'll run it through my small one because I only need a cup and a half. So you're going to start melting your butter. You can measure your graham crackers right away. If you have the crumbs, put them in a bowl, 1.5 cups, and then you can start melting your butter. So right away in your bowl, your graham crackers, your sugar, and your salt, and then you can melt your butter. I prefer to grind my own graham crackers, and that's only because I like using them for s'mores as well. Bowl for butter. So. Okay, and I'm just going to quickly run these through. Oops. This is a super easy and super quick thing to make. I like making it for a quick dessert and just letting it set in the fridge. If you're using whipping cream, if it's at stiff peaks, you don't have to let it set very long, maybe a half hour. It says on the recipe up to 4 hours. And it depends on the heat too. If it sets up that you can cut it cleanly, it's ready to go. So I'm just gonna get my graham crackers in. I love s'mores, so I don't buy the crumbs because I tend to eat them for s'mores more often than anything else. Or if I'm My favorite cheesecake's chocolate. So I tend to buy the Oreo crumbs more than the regular one. If I buy crumbs, I buy the Oreo ones. Yeah. And I throw a few more in there. Normally it's about a pack. So normally it's about a pack of these, or close to a pack of them, to get a cup and a half. So if you don't have it already, because it says cream cheese at room temperature, if your cream cheese and butter and stuff is still in the fridge, I would take it out of the fridge and put it on the counter, because it'll just be easier to mix up. Did you guys have all those here? Did you guys have a good week? And that's a easy clean. Just rinse it out and off you go. So actually, I still need about another half a cup. It's going to take the whole pack of graham crackers. What do you guys use? So those who can type and stuff, what are you guys planning on using for your toppings? I said I'm going to use a traditional, a cup and a half. Right? Yeah, cup and a half of graham crackers, or graham cracker crumbs in this case. So I actually use, whoops, there's it on my counter, but that's okay. Counter's clean. I made sure I cleaned off my counter, so I'm just going to put it into the bowl. Because I'm going to use this bowl for my butter. Half a teaspoon of kosher salt. I just put a couple of shakes in. Strawberries, awesome. So for strawberries, you could actually cook them down a little bit if you cut them. So it's completely up to you if you want to cook some of them in a pot with a little bit of water. So it makes like a jam, and then you can swirl it through and make the nice swirls. Or you can cut them fresh and top them. They're actually a little bit nicer if you cook them down a little bit, because then that brings out a little bit more of the sweetness. You put a little pinch of sugar in and a little bit of water and cook them down, and then put that. I'm going to use a different berry that I already cooked down. So in Newfoundland, we have something called baked apples. Mine are a little darker because I cooked them. They're like an orange berry. They're actually very, very bitter. They taste like they're a very, very sour berry. So mine have oxidized a bit, so they don't look the prettiest, but they're technically an orange color. And in parts of Eastern Canada, they call them cloudberries. I've grown up calling them bake apples. They're not an apple at all. They're a type of berry. They're a marshberry. And I was told when I asked why they're called bake apples is that in the summertime, when they're overripe, they can smell like, it almost smells like a baking apple. Apples are baking on the log. So I'm going to choose to use this and swirl. I like to put a little bit in, swirl it in through, and I'm just going to lay it on top. So you should have your butter. Okay, quarter cup of sugar. So I'm going to get my sugar, and this is the granulated. So difference between granulated and, I had to double check. I know this is not salt. I don't own that much salt. So if you use, you could use powdered sugar if you didn't have granulated sugar, which is fine. It's just the other way around. In your cheesecake base, in the cheesecake base, don't use granulated sugar because it makes it taste really, it makes it a grainy texture to it. Yeah, you can melt your butter now. If you're on the stage where you have everything in your bowl, your sugar, your crumbs, and your salt, you can start melting your butter. I'm just gonna rinse. All right, so that's how I'm gonna melt. I need to melt my butter as well. I need half a cup. If you ever have to make more, all you're looking for is when you melt your butter, and that's butter, you're looking for it to stick so that your crumbs can stick together. It's not gonna look dough-like. It's more gonna look like I would say like wet sand. But when you have wet sand to make a sandcastle, it just holds together neatly. That's what the consistency that we're looking for. So that's what. If your butter's super soft, you might not need to melt it. Mine's not. Mine's pretty hard. So mine's been in the fridge all day. So I'm just going to melt it just enough so that I can mix it easily in with my breadcrumbs and not have chunks of butter. So I need to what I like about cheesecake, other than it's cheesecake, it's a very versatile dessert. So if you like the flavor of it, you can do things like, once we get our crust made, I'll show you after our base is made. You can put a bit of base, a little bit of berries or jam. So for those who are using strawberries, you can cut your strawberries, put a layer of base, put a layer of fresh strawberries through, or strawberry jam, not strawberry jam, but like cooked down strawberries if you're cooking them down. And then you can put another layer of cheesecake, another layer of strawberries, and it looks super pretty when you cut it. And it also tastes delicious. So instead of always putting your topping on the top, you can put your topping in throughout, swirl it in, layer it in, whatever floats your boat, as we say back home. So I'm getting my butter melted. Just doing 20 seconds at a time. I'm gonna grab my springform pan. I'm gonna use a small pan. I normally like to use tart shells. I can't find my tart shells, so I'm gonna use something a little bigger. The one time you're looking for something you can't find, I'll use my silicone one. I'll just use my silicone one because it's easy to unmold too. If you don't have a springform pan, this is not going to be super hard. So you don't want your butter to bubble. Like mine still has a little chunk in it, but if I swirl it, it's going to cool everything down. Or soft. Essentially, you're looking for your butter to be incorporated seamlessly into your graham cracker crumbs. So when you stir everything in, you're not seeing any kind of chunks. It's super smooth. It'll spread and hold to the bottom of your pan easily. So like mine's melted almost all the way. There's a little tiny chunk in, like that. But if I stir it, that's going to be melted down in like the next minute, less than a minute. We just don't want your butter bubbling. So we just want it so that it's melted all the way through. Yes, you can use normal salt. I don't have kosher salt. I just use the regular salt I have in my cupboard. Like even for the filling, if you didn't have whipping cream, like I went and bought whipping cream. I have Cool Whip in the freezer, and Cool Whip works too, but I like whipping cream. Like I like the actual whipping cream. So mine's melted. I'm literally just going to dump in. So just so you know, the berries I'm using, I took from fresh and I cooked them down myself. I think it was actually last year and canned everything. So if you're using fresh and you want to cook them down, you just got to put them in a small pot with a little bit of water. Strawberry, if you're cooking down strawberries, if they're sweet, you only need about a tablespoon of sugar, not even, and you put a little bit of water just so they don't burn, and you put it on low or medium, medium low, and you're just gonna cook them down till it gets like that jammy consistency. So for my graham crackers, I try to use glass bowls whenever possible so anybody can see the consistency through them. If you don't have glass bowls, don't worry about it. And I like using butter instead of margarine for this. Reason being, butter when you put it in the fridge is going to harden up again. So it's going to keep your crust nice and firm together. Whereas if you use margarine instead of butter, it might crack your crust. So if I show you mine just has the butter all the way through it, and it kind of looks like a wet sand. So if I take it and push it, you can see how it's holding. Like I'm tipping it sideways, and it's holding against my spoon. So, but when I turn, obviously, when you turn it upside down, it's going to fall out. So any questions so far? We're doing okay. I know there's some people who have never had cheesecake before, don't like cheesecake, or said that, hey, I'm going to make it anyway. My mom eats it, I'm like, you're like, no. Another thing I like about cheesecake is you don't have to be stuck with just the one flavor. This recipe, you can put any kind of topping you want on it. I might have put too much cream. No. So once you put it in your pan, you're going to smush them down. You're going to smush everything down and pack it down tightly to the bottom of your pan. I'm going to slow down in case some people are still mixing things. So I'm going to just smooth the graham cracker. I'm just going to even everything out. My favorite to make is chocolate. Honestly, my favorite cheesecake to make is chocolate. And how I make the chocolate one is I use a recipe similar to this, but I don't add sugar at all. And I don't use as much whipping cream. And I melt chocolate chips. So I melt chocolate chips and mix it into my mixture, my batter mixture. That's going to go on top of this. Instead of using, why should I butter grease my pan? What type of pan are you using? Are you using a metal pan? Or using springform? Springform has the ones that have like the latch on the side that you can open up. Or if you're using a pie, are you using springform? Metal. So metal, you're just gonna have to be careful when you cut it. So not to scratch your pan too much at the bottom, but you shouldn't have to, no. Because you're only gonna, this will freeze. The crumbs aren't gonna, because nothing's gonna stick to the bottom because it has butter already in the crumbs. Once you cut it and everything's set up, it should slice nicely and you should be able to scoop it out. And it won't stick to the bottom of your pan, so no, you're not gonna need to grease your pan. I just like using silicone. I could have used springform, I suppose. So mine is a little, actually, I'm gonna switch really quick to a springform pan. Can I also use glass? That would be better. Glass would probably be better. If you have a glass bowl, or not bowl, a glass pan, like a Pyrex, that'll work too. Doesn't have to be round. I'm just gonna go. Oh, where did I put my springform? Things I don't use that often. Now I'm just gonna leave it where it is. I'm not gonna. I've actually used cups before because this is a no bake. I've actually taken. I'll show you which cups I use. I have these little teacups that I like using for desserts when I want to make them look pretty. So I'll actually layer the bottom with graham crackers. I'll use a piping bag, or I'll spoon in my cheesecake mixture. I'll put strawberries or berries or something in the middle. I'll put another layer of cheesecake mixture, and then I'll sprinkle some graham crackers or something on top, or whipped cream. And I actually layer them in this, and it's a nice little one-person, one-serving dessert. I'm going to use my silicone pan for today because my spring form, I don't know where it is. It's at home. It's probably underneath there or up there somewhere. So I couldn't locate it last night. So I'm just going to use this for today. It all works fine. So my things are nice and even. I just smushed them down. It'll look super fluffy, but the most you can just take the back of your spoon and smush it down. It should hold. So like I'm using, I'm squeezing mine a little bit, you can see that it's still staying together. That is kind of that is what you're looking for. So when it's cold or set, like when you put the base on it, this will actually cut easily. I might get some crumblies, but if I didn't want any crumblies, I could put a little bit more butter in it, and it would, it'll solidify, or like it'll be stiffer. But either way, you can also bake them. So if I was doing a baked cheesecake, I would pop this in the oven for 15, 20 minutes. Just let it get golden brown. I don't mind just the no bake because I like graham crackers the way it is. And yeah, so then once that's done, you're just gonna pop it in the freezer. So I think, yeah. So now that my base is done. So I'm gonna pop it in the freezer or fridge. Any questions so far? We're doing okay? My mom used to use a glass one all the time for hers. It was the quickest dessert. We would do graham crackers, and sometimes she wouldn't even crush them. She would just put the full graham cracker down, so then we would know where to cut. We would crack them into squares, so that would be the size of the dessert, approximately. So we'd mark the pan on where the edges of the squares were, and then we would just put our cheesecake layer, and then we put pie filling on top. So if you didn't have fresh berries or anything, you could grab a can of pie filling, cherry, blueberry, strawberry, whatever, and we would put that on the top, and then let it set. Easiest dessert. We take it mostly if we had to go like to a family gathering of sorts. So I'm just gonna toss this in my dishwasher. That's done. Okay, are you guys ready to start moving on to the batter? To your filling? So for your filling, it's super easy. We're gonna start with getting your whipped cream ready. I like to get my whipped cream ready first because cream cheese sometimes takes a little bit extra time to soften up, especially if you didn't leave it out at it's not room temperature just yet. Okay, perfect. Got the whipped cream. So essentially what we're looking for, 2 cups. This is a small one of these. So this is 473 milliliters. It's just under 2 cups, but it'll be enough for what we're going to do here. And let's make sure for the cheesecake, I'm gonna make sure my proportions are right. Yeah, 2 cups of whole heavy whipped cream and 3 packages. A cup of powdered sugar, 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. So I'm gonna dump this whole thing in here first. And then what we're going to do is it's called getting stiff peaks. It's like doing meringue. Essentially, if you've ever seen the joke where it's like if you put it over your head and it doesn't come out, then it's ready. We're going to just essentially put it in, dump the whole thing in, put it on I'll probably put it on a medium for now before I turn it up on high. Yeah, and then the powder, everything to prepare your whipped cream. I will take it out of this bowl and do the rest of the mixture. So my cream cheese, my vanilla, and my sugar in this after the whipped cream is done. So I'm just gonna put it in. lock your mixer. If you have a hand mixer, that works great too. So I'm just gonna leave it go for a bit. It takes about, could take about 2-3 minutes-ish, maybe 5, depending on how fast your mixer is. If you're using a hand mixer, if you're using a whisk, it could take you a good 5-10 minutes, all depends. So I'm gonna leave this and I'm gonna time it for about 3 minutes and then I'll stop it and we'll look at where it's at. Go with whipped cream, don't overmix it. If you overmix it, it'll separate and your cheesecake will fall apart. Guys, I'm just picking up a little bit as I go, just to keep my kitchen a little cleaner. You guys can do the same. I always check the dates on my cream cheese. It's so good. I don't buy. I like using light. You can use full fat. It doesn't really matter. So while this is going, I'm going to pre-measure my sugar. So it says 1 cup of powdered sugar. Powdered sugar and icing sugar are the same thing. Only it is the same as granulated sugar. It's just grind down to a powder. Quickly wash this one out. I'm just going to clean and reuse the same bowl. It's coming along. It's not done. Funny thing, you can actually make butter with whipping cream. I've used, you can separate the fat from it, and if you shake, it'll actually remove the butter from whipping cream. I've also made fresh cheese using whipping cream stuff before too. Okay, so I'm going to turn. Been going for 2 minutes, but it looks ready. So what they mean by stiff peaks, like mine, I have to turn mine up a little higher. You should be able to take the whisk, and when you come up, it all stays and it forms like a little curl. So I'm going to turn mine up a little higher to get mine. I should have just turned it, cranked it all the way up already. It doesn't take a long time to do it. So stiff peaks. Ugh. If you go like that, generally that's what a stiff peak is. So it holds up like that. So if you can dip your beater into your whipped cream and that happens, then you're good. I would not mix it any further than that. So mine looks like that. Mine's moving a little bit in the bowl. So I can't really put it over my head. That means I probably could mix it slightly. No, I'm good. I don't want to mix it anymore because, again, I don't want it to break. So you're going to take out your beater. You're going to transfer that with a spatula to another bowl. You're gonna transfer it to another bowl because we're gonna need our mixer for our cream cheese. Spatula. Is what happens if it's undermixed. If it's not mixed enough, it's not going to set up. So if your stuff is overmixed, your no bake will break. No bake cheesecake will break. If it's undermixed, it'll be too watery and it's not going to set up well when you mix together. You don't need to clean the bowl. I'm just going to get as much as I can out. Put my whipped cream aside. Put my bowl back on and use my paddle attachment. I'm actually going to put my whipped cream in the fridge. Keep it nice and cold. You can. There you go. Paddle attachment, and you're gonna put in your cream cheese. So it says 3 blocks. You're gonna put your cream cheese, your powdered sugar. This stuff was on sale, so I bought the blocks. Sometimes you can buy the whipped in the containers, has the same amount of cream cheese for the same price, and it's already whipped, and you don't have to worry too much about letting it come up to room temperature. I just buy whatever's on sale, in all honesty. Because if I need to grab my spatula real quick. I know. Neat thing is, once you know how to make a dip with cream cheese, if you like cream cheese, you can make any kind of dip you want. So if you have like a French onion spice, you can put it in with cream cheese and a bit of mayo and make a French onion dip and not have to buy. I don't use a lot of dips. I use some. So what I tend to do is just make my own. So I'll get 1 block of cream cheese or 2 blocks of cream cheese. And then I'll make my own spinach dip and just do everything that way because it saves you some time. So I'm just going to toss 3 blocks in the mixer, finish measuring my 1 cup of sugar and my 2 teaspoons. 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. I'm going to throw all that into the mixer. You can also use flavored cream cheeses. I have used strawberry cream cheese before. It's not bad. I always rather do my own and just add my own fresh strawberries. Or if you have frozen strawberries or frozen berries, that works really well too. You just have to be careful with what you add into your mixture because it releases water. So things like berries, mostly berries, have a lot of water in them. So as you're putting into your mixture, it can cause your mixture to be too runny and not set up properly. So you just have to be careful with how much you're putting. So generally, I just make my base, put my base in the crust as is, and then I'll put toppings on. You guys getting all your mixtures together okay? Just put my spatula in the box so I don't get my countertop too dirty. Just gonna clean my hands real quick. There we go. My cream cheese is all in, and then I get chocolate cream cheese. Oh, Tyrrell was an incident. Did you eat all of it? Is that the incident? I always buy regular and just melt. If you have, it's easy just to melt some chocolate chips, melt them down, and let them cool a little bit. And before they harden, well, this is actually going to be a full cup. And before they harden, just put them back in the, mix it with your cream cheese. You can have chocolate cream cheese that way. I have just enough powdered sugar. Ooh, hey me. I probably have more in my baking. I probably have more in my baking stash downstairs. Yes, I have a baking stash because I bake a lot, so I have quite a lot of ingredients on hand. All right, so cup of powdered sugar, and I'm literally just going to toss it into cream cheese. The nicest thing about this recipe, it's super easy to make, and you can make it anytime. So, oh, this is 1 tablespoon. I need a teaspoon. So, one, two. And my cat magically thinks that me knocking the thing on the side of the bowl means that I'm getting food for her, which is not the case. So this is all done. All you're going to do is start off slow, and you're just going to mix it till everything's incorporated. Oops. That's why I said start off slow, because powdered sugar can be a little bit of a poof when it wants to be. And if your cream cheese is a little on the softer side, this literally takes 30 seconds. Essentially, mine's almost done. I'm going to take my spatula, clean as much of what essentially once your cream cheese is, if your cream cheese is soft to the point where it mixes in easily, and you can stir it without having to, and you can stir it easily without having to worry about big chunks of cream cheese, then it's done. Cream cheese is not inherently sweet, so obviously adding sugar to it helps. That's why we add powdered sugar to it. Normally this is the stage if I was making a chocolate cheesecake that I would melt chocolate chips and melt it till it's just smooth, not super warm, and then I would just throw it in. Oh no, that's terrible. So I don't think those, maybe reading the chat, dumped hot bacon fat into the container. Kid thought it was actual chocolate cream cheese, poured it on their chest, and got burnt. That is so terrible. Thing is, I do the same thing as your dad. I use old cans. So if I open a can of something like cream corn or peas or whatever, or like canned peas, but a can of even canned tomatoes, I'll take the can, rinse it out, put bacon fat in it, and throw it in the freezer. And I just keep it in the freezer until the can's full. And then once the can's full, I throw it out. Oh no, yeah, I wouldn't buy it either. All right, so I had a little bit of extra mixed along the bottom, so I'm using my spatula. I'm just scooping from the bottom because my everything else mixed in fine. I could see a little residue of vanilla at the bottom, so I'm just stirring that in. There, and that's what my base looks like. It's actually holding really well, because, well, it's cream cheese. It's all cream cheese. So then all you're going to do is fold in your whipped cream. So folding it in just means you're gonna add a little bit, like rotate it through, you're not gonna fully mix it in. You're essentially just gonna incorporate it slowly and keep folding it over. Essentially, if I'm gonna take this, I'll go around and I'll go over. And I'm just gonna keep doing that with my doing that until my whipped cream is mixed in with my cream cheese base, and then I'm done. I'm gonna stop, because if not, you're gonna over mix your cream. It's gonna cause your whipped cream to break, or it's gonna get super runny. So whipped cream's done. See, holding it shape nice. Can't do that for too long. I'm not gonna hold it over my head. Although kids have asked me to do that challenge in foods to actually see if we can whip whipped cream and hold it overhead. I don't trust my kiddos on that. That would be an interesting thing though. So I'm just gonna fold. I'm gonna add a bunch, dump it in, and I'm literally just gonna fold it in until it's, and just keep twirling until it's mixed in a little bit. You can see a different color difference, so it's gonna all be one color. I'm just gonna take a little more, dump it in, and start folding it over. I would use a spatula or spoon for this. I wouldn't use the mixer, only because the mixer will over mix it really quickly. And you don't want to deflate your whipping cream. You want it to still have some oomph in it. And if your cream cheese is smooth, you should be able to fold this and stir it so it keeps a smooth consistency and doesn't get chunky. The hardest part when I do the chocolate cheesecake is making sure I don't overheat my chocolate, because if I overheat my chocolate, then it makes things go soupy. It'll also not just deflate the whipped cream, it deflates the whipped cream and also overheats the cheese, and it gets really chunky and not too appetizing. So it's one of those things that's a little finicky, but with practice, it gets really easy. And if you're doing something simple like berries, you're just gonna put them on top. Oh, sorry. Thank you. If I go too fast, just let me know. So if you're mixing your cream cheese, if you're still at the stage of mixing your cream cheese, you're just literally looking for it to be fully soft enough to be incorporated. And then you're gonna fold in your whipped cream. Until it's mixed in with your cream cheese mixture. So I'm gonna grab a separate spoon. I'm gonna taste my cream cheese mixture. One thing I like about no bake, I can tell if there's too much or not enough sugar in it. So if you take a little spoon, you can see the color of mine's pretty consistent. Sweet enough. I don't like it sweet. I find what you buy in the store sometimes really, really sweet. So I didn't put as much sugar in. I put just under a cup, but I didn't put a full cup. But sweet enough for me. What's nice about this is a standard base, so you can flavor it however you want. I'm gonna check the berries, make sure. Berries are good. They taste They're a little bitter, but they're great. I make jam with very little to no sugar in it, only because I don't like I don't like things super sweet to the point where it hurts your teeth. So for those of you who are already at the stage where your cream cheese, either you're mixing your whipped cream into your cream cheese, it's folded in well when it looks consistent. Now, if I pick up a bit, I can see sometimes a little bit where my cream cheese, I can tell which is cream cheese and which is whipped cream. That is okay. What you're looking for is if you were to go to taste it, not just sweetness, you shouldn't taste a distinct difference or like chunks of cream cheese into it. It should taste rather smooth all the way through when you when you have it in your mouth. So if you're tasting chunks of cream cheese, that means you have to mix it a little bit more. So when your cream cheese is mixed, you're looking for it to be just soft, super smooth before you add your whipped cream in. Then once you add your whipped cream in, you're just going to incorporate it until it's super smooth, until it's smooth. And then if you take a spoon and taste it a little bit, you don't taste a huge difference. You might taste a little bit, but like chunks of cream cheese in whipped cream, you should be able to taste a general, like it's fully mixed together. If you're using a mixer, don't forget to look along the bottom, things like the hide down there. It's like the Elf with the extra sock. You always have, it's like this one, the dryer eats one sock. So there, mine's done. And that's what mine looks like. That's my batter base. That's it. So I'm gonna wait a few seconds. I'm gonna clean up. I'll wait down my counter a little bit, so that when you guys are ready to put the cream cheese into the base, you just scoop it out and put it in the base. Or if you have a piping bag, want to get fancy, you can put it in a piping bag. Oops. I'm not going to use a piping bag. If I was using like little dessert cups, or I was using tart shells, or I was going to do this as a fancy dessert to bring somewhere, yes, I would use a piping bag. I would probably pipe it either fully in a circle or use like a star tip and just do like little stars all over the top of it. And then I would like cut my strawberry, shaved chocolate, do it. How are you guys doing? Doing okay? So for those who are tuning in every week, next week I'm doing poutine. So I'm doing a traditional Canadian poutine. So teach you how to make your gravy from scratch, or poutine sauce from scratch. It's very similar to gravy, only slightly different. And then you'd have to get cheese curds, and we're gonna make our own French fries. So if you do not have a fryer, that is fine. I'm gonna use an air fryer. You could also bake them in the oven. So we're gonna make some homemade French fries from potatoes, and then we're going to do a poutine sauce. We're gonna make poutine, and you need to have cheese curds, which you can get at any grocery store. And then our last one, so that's next week. Our last one's the week after, and we're going to be doing like ham pies, or like a homemade Pop-Tart essentially. So it's going to be a puff pastry with a jam filling. And that's how we're going to end off our sessions for our cooking sessions. It might continue throughout the summer. Every once in a while, who knows? I don't use fryers generally because I find deep fryers, A, other than a lot of fat, B, they're very dangerous if you overheat them or to use them. I have an air fryer for that reason personally. Or you could bake them. I will never fry shallow on the stove because you can overheat your oil. And if your oil overheats, it can bust into flames and cause fires. So not gonna go there with that. So I'm gonna grab my base. So now I'm just gonna grab my base. My base is solid. I actually probably should, my base is a little bit more solid than I intended. So it's hard, completely hard, because the butter solidifies. Oh, cool. Yeah. So all I'm gonna do, base this all, I'm going to take my cheesecake mixture and I'm going to put some on the top. And I'm just going to spread it over. I should have used my Pyrex. I use Pyrex. So if you're using a Pyrex bowl or a glass one, I forgot, it's no bake. You could put the lid on them. If you have ones with lids. The thing is I have another one that has a lid. So you're essentially just gonna keep filling a little bit at a time and work your way around. This will actually make a pretty big cheesecake. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to fill mine to the top of the plate. Now, if you're doing, so someone said they were doing strawberries. If you wanted to do, say, half, level it, and then put a layer of strawberries, you could, and put more on top. If you want to cook your strawberries, like I already told you how to cook that earlier, you put them down. So essentially, that is it. So I have my base. My base is about this thick. So it comes out about half an inch, or probably closer to an inch. So that's my base. I can feel it right here. And then the rest is my cheesecake. And then I'm going to put my baked apple toppings. All right. So I have extra. So all I'm going to do is take the bowl I had earlier, because all it has is a bit of whipped cream on it. It's all good. I got a lot of extra cheesecake mixture because I used 3 containers. So depending on how deep your bowl is, or if you use springform pan, this normally would be enough. What I'm actually going to do with this is I'm going to melt some chocolate chips later, and I'm going to make a second one. And I have Oreo crust. So I bought the Oreo crumbs, and I'm going to make this into a chocolate cheesecake. So all I'll do is melt the chocolate chips, keep this cold in the fridge, add my chocolate chips to my base, and then my chocolate cheesecake stuff. And my favorite thing to do as a kid was lick the spoon. Now I wash my hands. There you go. Now you can put a lid on this and put this in the fridge. So that's essentially now that mixture, if you have extra, putting it on pancakes, homemade blueberry pancakes, or doing pancakes, chocolate chip, or pancakes with strawberries, putting a little bit of that in the middle between your pancakes, so good. Or a dollop on top with your pancakes, fantastic. Or waffles, works on waffles too. Cheesecake waffle. I have not much, you don't have much mixture left? I guess it all depends on the size, how big your pan is. Because this would generally do a 9-inch springform pan. Springform fans are about slightly deeper than what I have here. And maybe this, I think this is, yeah, it's about 9 inches. So that's a 9. So it's maybe a little bit more. Oh, you have too much mixture. So yeah, they're used for, normally this recipe is for a springform pan. Oh, total of 15. So putting it on pancakes or waffles tastes really good with fresh strawberries. If you make a second little one, if you have more graham crackers, you could make a second smaller one. And I've actually froze them. I put them in the freezer and they froze fine. So that's another option too if you have extra. So now for my berries, I'm literally just going to take my berries and you can swirl them through. You can dump them all on top. I'm trying to think of what I'm going to do. I might actually leave it for now and let it set up. So if you're going to cook them down, it might be better to put this in the fridge and let it, because It's not gonna, like, you could probably, I could cut this now and it's to be set up fine. I would put it in the fridge to cool for a bit. And then what I'll do is I'll spoon my berries on after, because I like the versatility. I kind of like having baked apples, and I do have strawberries in the fridge that I'll probably use as well. So I'll cook some down. I'll take a slice and then put some on top. So I'll leave it as a plain base, and then I'll put my toppings on after. And it tastes fantastic. Have you guys tried it? For those who are baking along or making, I guess it's making, not really baking. Have you guys tried it yet? Do you guys like the taste or the texture? So for mine, I'm gonna put a cover on it. Are you doing your strawberries raw or cooked? Oh, that's not gonna fit. Saran wrap it is. Raw, then I would let it set up. You could put them on now, it's not gonna matter. You could also let it just set up first. So if you're putting them on raw, you're gonna be fine. So if you wanna cut them and put them on and then set them up in the fridge. If they were cooked, then yes, I would say put it in the fridge first, let it set up for like a half hour to an hour, and then put them on. But if you're putting them on raw, you can do it right away. I'm gonna let mine set up because I might change my mind like 20 minutes from later. Instead of putting baked apples, I might do another fruit. I also have peaches in the freezer, blueberries. It's super neat because it's so versatile as a base. So this is your base cheesecake, and then you can flavor it however way you want. I've also flavored before coconut. I did like a coconut and pineapple one, like pina colada. I've done fresh berries. I've done quite a few different kinds just to experiment with what I like. My favorite's still chocolate. Chocolate with strawberry top, actually. So yeah, do you guys have any questions for me before we end for today? So for those of you who are deciding to cook down, if you want to cook your berries a little bit, you're just going to cook it with a little bit of sugar and a bit of water, and you're just going to cook it so it kind of looks like a jam consistency, just so we call it a compote, just so it mixes through, and so it kind of looks like jam, like what I showed you with mine. You can still see a little bit of the berry, but it's more of a jam. That's how I cook those. Just with a little bit of sugar, a bit of water, and cook them down. Well, if you don't have any questions for me, I'd like to thank you guys all for coming today. It's great to see you guys at Coming Out Again, and I hope you have a great weekend, and I will see you next time. I'll just stick around for a minute and see if anybody has any questions. Awesome. It doesn't seem like anybody has any questions. So thank you very much for tuning in, and we will see you next time. Bye.